Hi everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. I'm joined in the studio by Sian Sairo of Sian Sairo, no, Sairo Law Global. Hey, I'll be sued. I will not be sued. And Sian is a good friend, a very good friend. We've known each other for many days. In fact, the other day I was looking at some photos of the first house I moved to when I met my husband, and we had a nice party. It was a New Year's party, and we had a nice time. And Sian was there. Sian, I'll share those photos maybe, and you can enjoy them the way we've enjoyed them the days when we were a little bit younger. But I've known Sian for quite a while, and Sian has given me lots of advice and direction with regards to any legal stuff. And I know as musicians, as singers, as songwriters, we do need help navigating the legal stuff just to make sure that we don't get stuck or we don't get in trouble. So today we're just going to have a question and answer style session with Sian, where we can ask all our questions that have to do with making money from our music. And maybe Sian can also share with us, some strategies of how we can make money, monetize our music, some strategies on how we can protect our intellectual property so that our property is not misused, and we can make money from it, and then and such things that affect musicians. So I'd like to welcome Sian to the studio. Sian, karibu sana. Please do introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself. Do tell us a bit about your company, and then I'll just post the questions, I think, on the screen as we go along, and you can address those. So karibu sana, Sian.
Thank you, Corinne. Good morning, everyone on the line. My name is Sian Sairo. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'm about to click 10 years post admission, actually. I feel a bit old. I practice. I am a community. I take part in a lot of community work. I am a business coach. I'm a mommy, and I'm also a recording artist. So I think that should at least bring me into this space where I understand the work that goes into creation of work and why that needs to be protected and how we can use the law to make money from it. Thank you, Corinne. So I think you can
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was muted. Sorry, I was saying I'm just gonna hop backstage and then just put the questions that I have received in the chat. And also, our viewers, you're very welcome. Please go ahead and put your questions, post your questions in the comments, and I will highlight them for Sian to answer. Any questions you have about the legal, navigation in the music world, and I know you have many questions. I do, so I will start posting them in the chat. Sian, you can go ahead and just talk a little bit. Can you tell us more about you say you're also a recording artist?
yes.
Um, yeah, just tell us a little bit more about that. So I'm just gonna hop backstage, and then you'll just see comments pop up on the screen with the questions.
All right, thank you, Corinne. As I explain what I do, I would like to get into the aspect of copyright. So I sing and record. Part of the things that, in fact, part of the songs that I have sung are parts of music that have been written and owned by other people. So as a recording artist, because I'm working on a Christmas album, and as you know, most Christmas songs, even the ones that will be sung in our traditional languages, were originally somebody else's tune and somebody else's words and somebody else's ideas. So, as a recording artist who, for example, wants to record the Swahili or the Maasai version of Oh Holy Night, I have to ask myself, is Holy Night copyright protected? So, if I go to the studio and record Oh Holy Night in my language, am I violating the rights of the owner of the tune, the owner of the idea? So that is part of my work. So let me explain copyright as a form of intellectual property because it is the form that affects artists the most. There's other forms of intellectual property. There's, for example, patents, and a patent is a form of intellectual property that protects original work and ideas, um, and including formulas, mathematical formulas, including the tissue paper, how it looks. That's a patent. Then there's also other forms of intellectual property. There's maybe the trademark, and we'll also look at how the trademark can be used to market you as an artist. There's trademarks, and trademarks is basically what you see with your eyes. It could be words, it could be letters. It's what makes you say that that K is for KCB. It's not for any other bank. That NCBA, that is their color. That is the way people say in the village, alikuwa amevaa ile green ya Safaricom, because Safaricom has trademarked itself with a certain green that is associated with Safaricom. Um, uh, so there's trademarks which can also be used by artists. There's industrial designs that are usually for creations. Industrial designs can protect artists that make things like dresses, where you can say that particular shape of a neck on that dress, I came up with it, and that one is mine, and it's protected. So today I'll mostly look at copyright, because copyright is the one that protects original work of artists, and it is the one that I feel many artists in this space, whether you're a singer, whether you do drama, whether you do poetry, you need to know about how copyright protects you. So basically, copyright is a type of intellectual property that protects original work of authorship as soon as an author fixes the work in a tangible form of expression. So let's cut that into many pieces. First, it is an intellectual property, right? Intellectual property is any property that comes from your imagination, your mind, your exposure, your dreams. You know, we use a lot of things within us to come up with art. Your pain, your experience, your imagination, your madness. I mean, there's people who smoke a joint, and when they see those images, they paint them. All those are things that come from your mind. And the reason why they are protected is because they're very personal. They've come from just one imagination and just one mind. The rest of the world would have never known if this person did not bring this idea from their mind and bring it out for us. So we have to reward that person. That tune in your head, the law has to reward you for bringing it out to the world. That story that you think, oh my God, what romance. When you put it down and put it in a movie and you bring it out to us as the world, and we say, oh, what a good idea. How do we reward you? So it's an intellectual property right. It protects original work of authorship. What is an original? And this is a fundamental question when you look at copyright. Now, patents, like I explained before, protect novel work. Novel means something that has never existed. So if a person comes, if you in the 1700s, there is malaria in the world, there has never been a cure for malaria. So the person that comes up with quinine, because it has never existed in the world, this cure for malaria has never existed. They get a patent for quinine because it was non-existent. However, copyright does not care for novelty. Copyright cares for originality. So what is the difference between novelty and originality? Novelty is something that has never existed in the world. Haijawahi kuwa, and you have brought it. But original work is putting together things that maybe are not novel. But once you put them together, that putting together is so original that nobody else could have come up with it the way you came up with it. A good example is if I go to the studio and I say, I want a Christmas carol that captures all the sounds of Kenya. So I tell my producer, on this song, I want you to bring me the Nyatiti from the Luo. I want you to go and bring me the Adeudeu from the Borana. I want that sound in that song. I want the dance style of the what these ladies that dance with their shoulders. I want the dance style of the Giriama in that song. And then I want towards the end, I want you to put Maasai sound so that I can see Warani jumping at the fireside. And that is my original thinking of how that Christmas carol should come out. So you see, this Christmas carol, it has things that have existed in the world. They're not novel. I didn't bring them. However, I have put them together to make a work that is so original that somebody else could not have used all the things in the world to come up with. A good example is a tune. So if I write a reggae song today, reggae is something that has been in the world. I mean, the reggaeton is something that has been ongoing. I didn't invent it. But the words that I've put in there and the beats and the way I present it is so original that somebody else could not have imagined that exact song in their head. So that is the work that is protected by a copyright. Then, original works of authorship. Authorship refers to the process by which an original idea is expressed. So authorship is not necessary in copyright. Authorship does not stand for actually authoring, like putting whatever you're creating in words in paper. Authorship means you're converting this original idea, that song of mine in my head that I've put together, that has the adeu and the nyatiti and that triangle and those sounds, those dances. um, if it's just in my mind, there's no copyright. But the moment I put it out and I start singing and I start singing and I make it a song, then that is an act of authorship. So for copyright to attach, there must be authorship. I can't go and say, I've been thinking of this idea for so long in my mind, but my neighbor has just my neighbor hiyo song nilikuwa nafikiria neighbor wangu ndio ameimba. You can't. The only way to prove that a work is originally yours is if there's an act of authorship. Then, as soon as the author fixes the work in a tangible form of expression. Now, this author, for copyright to protect you, you have to put it in a tangible form of expression. What is a tangible form of expression? A tangible form of expression does not necessarily mean that if it is a song, it must be in a CD or a flash disk. No. If I have come up with a song and I have expressed my original ideas into a song, and then I have taken that and I have gone and performed it, I have turned it into a tangible form of expression. However, um, though copyright does not require you to have something that can be shown in evidence, it does not. It is enough to say it was a tangible form expression because I used to sing that song at the street, and then this person crammed my song because I'm poor. They went to the studio and they produced it, but the copyright is mine. So as much as copyright does not require you to, you will not be asked to say where is the CD you recorded it if it was yours. Copyright does not require that. However, because in the world that we live in, and if copyright is violated, you would have to come up with evidence that it was indeed yours. Much as copyright does not demand the tangible form, it is advisable that as artists, you put your things and your ideas in a form where we can be able to ascertain hii ilikuwa ya Corinne, hii haikuwa ya Sian. So if you have, let's say if you're writing a poem, don't write poems on random foolscaps that are going to be found all over the world, uh, that will just be swept away by the house girl and it will be found in a ditch in Dandora. And then if somebody redoes that poem, you come to scream, "Oh, that was my poem." So as an artist, it is fundamental that you put your original work in a tangible form that can be produced in evidence for you to claim copyright. Now, I've seen the copyright board and not really the copyright board, this MCSK, the one that collects royalties for musicians. I have seen them trying to encourage artists to register a copyright over their work. However, I feel like when they go out into the field, they do not really educate the masses about at what is the advantage of registration of a copyright, and they keep it from the artist that a copyright does not need to be registered. So unlike any other form of intellectual property, is the intellectual property zingine, you have to have a registered patent for you to claim a patent. You must have a registered trademark for you to claim a trademark. You must have a registered industrial design for you to claim it. But for copyright does not attach with registration. It is not conferred by registration. Copyright attaches the moment intellectual property, original work of an author has been fixed in a tangible form. So the moment mimi niko na song imekuja kwa mind, nikaenda pale KBC nikamwambia, let me sing this song for you in the morning. Just by singing it, if it is my original work, my copyright has attached. I don't need to have gone to the copyright board and registered. And if somebody violates my copyright, I can go after them and say, by the way, that song, I sang it that morning, and that is where you've gotten that song. That song is mine. Give me my copyright. So copyright is not conferred by registration. However, when you do register it, when you have registered your song or your poem or your movie, when you've registered a copyright over it, and if ever a question of who owns the copyright arises, then the burden of proof is on the one who is not registered to show that indeed they had that copyright before you registered. So again, registering, unlike a patent, in fact, a patent, if two of us have the same idea, if me and my neighbor have exactly the same idea, how we can make red dye from plum jam on Christmas Day, and we come out and we crush plums and we put a white piece of cloth inside it, and it is red, and then we say, oh my god, we've discovered the dye. If I beat my neighbor to registration, then the patent is mine. So with patent, registration is everything. So copyright, because we said copyright is not conferred by registration, registration does not beat the fact that one person has registered does not extinguish the right of the person that believes they have a true copyright. So it is just that when you go to court, the person that is registered does not need to prove anything. It will be the burden of proof of the one who is not registered to show that indeed their copyright came before this one who is registered. But if they're able to prove it, then they carry the day. The copyright, the law only asks the questions of whose work is it originally. I'm sure you've seen a lot of, if you've watched the movies of the stories of Kina Whitney when they started their careers, Kina Mariah, the same thing we are having with the these girls that are dying in the Rift Valley because of having boyfriends that are living off them. So you will find very early in those artists' career, somebody came and said, "Oh, I know, I like you so much. Can I be your manager? Oh, but also I even like your lips. Can I be your boyfriend? Oh no, can I marry you?" And then after that, they say the artists sing, make crazy money, but it never gets to their pocket because in these hustling days when people are starting out, they go to studios, they say, I have talent, I have something to do, I can talk to the world, I have a voice, I can move the world with my voice, but I have no money. So the first thing the producer says, let me hear you, Ebu ingia hapo ndani nisikie what you're gonna how you're going to rap. And the producer says, okay, well, I can produce you, but I'm going to own the copyright over your music. What does that mean when that happens? That when a person when a person gets into an agreement of production, so as artists, that's the other thing you need to know. When a person says, I don't have money, I will fund your project, why are you funding my project? What are you taking from me? So look at those agreements. If the agreement said that we are transferring the copyright, you as an artist need to know what is transfer of copyright. First of all, transfer of copyright means that maybe I went to the studio, I used my voice, I used my original idea. But if I transfer my copyright, it means even I cannot use that music without the permission of the person that owns the copyright over me. So if I'm the artist, if I'm the one going around stages of the world singing and messing up my vocal cords and sometimes even getting throat cancer, if you've moved the copyright to somebody else, you're simply their employee. That idea, that song, that voice, all that effort, you have sold it. So you're basically an employee of that company, of that producer. So that's the other thing that artists need to be clear. When I say that I need to be funded or I'm on contract in a studio, what is the studio taking from me? If you sell the copyright, it means that you do not have any rights of use. So copyright. So what exactly does a copyright protect? So this copyright, we said it's an intellectual property. It protects your original work. when you have authored it, that means when you have expressed it in a form that can be heard, and then when that authorship has been fixed in a tangible form. Now, copyright, the author controls the use for a limited time period. So, the, what does copyright carry? What inner protect meaning? What is it in that song? It protects the use of it. So, and the use of a copyright could be in entertainment. You've seen MCSK arresting people who own matatus because of playing songs that have been that without paying any royalties. It means if this song is used in an advert, if it's used in a play, if it's even used in a party. In fact, if we were to follow the roots of copyright, it means that every single person who listens to an author's work has to have paid for it, unless the author has lifted and said, mimi sitaki hiyo copyright, tumieni bure. But very few things in the world are like that, because a copyright does not need to be registered. The moment to Beyonce amemba to the left, a copyright has attached. So when an artist feels that I need to get out of this space where I'm not making money, I'm carrying talent and I don't have the money to bring out, when you go to those studios and negotiate, my advice to artists is negotiate a minimum. Like negotiate, don't go into agreements where you sell your entire copyright and transfer it to the studio. Uh, have say we're going to have a 50-50. We're going to share 50-50 between me and the studio, depending on what we get. Or have a cap. I usually provide a cap for my clients. I tell them, even if you negotiate 70-30 or 50-50, provide a cap where once the studio has recovered a certain amount, then the entire copyright will come back to you. So you want to avoid a situation where you think this music is not worth anything, then suddenly it's Anguka Nayo. It is the song that is being used in the struggle for self-determination. It is suddenly played everywhere in every campaign. It has blown, but you had 20-80% with the studio, and the studio eats from you for the rest of your life. So the best thing is to say, whatever you negotiate with the studio, once the studio has achieved a million bob, then all the rights come back to you. Another thing with copyright is once you transfer, it is the only right where once it is transferred to another party, the artist is left with some rights over it. First, when a copyright is transferred, all the rights of use move from the owner to the buyer. All the rights moved. However, the right of attribution is a moral right. There's commercial rights in copyright and there's moral rights. So commercial rights move in a transfer, but moral rights do not move. And moral rights are, for example, that the right of attribution. Attribution is to say this song was made by Corinne Light in 1990. So it does not matter whether Corinne sold the song to Sony Studios or to Atlanta. It does not matter whether the rights were eventually bought off by another company. That song will always be attributed to Corinne. So the right of attribution in a copyright does not move. It attaches on the maker and it stays with them forever. Secondly, when copyright, the artist has the moral right to determine what the work cannot be used for. So irrespective of the fact that somebody has bought a copyright from you, you can get to say, mimi, hiyo song yangu sitaki ichezwe kwa campaign. In fact, I've seen some gospel musicians who have come out and said, my song was made to bring people to Jesus. I do not want it to be played in a campaign. So even if that person was in a studio, whether they sold their right to KBC or to Nation, and then the song is being used as a campaign slogan, despite the transfer, the artist is able to say, I do not want my song to be used in that situation. Mimi, your song yangu, please do not play it in that song about war. So because they have to keep their moral rights. What is your morality over your work? You get to keep it for the rest of your life. Now, as I wind up, unlike other forms of intellectual property, copyright lives beyond the artist. So for music, it is 50 plus years. For authors, it is 25 plus. So that means as long as I am alive, I have all the rights to use the work that I have done, my poetry, my music, and all that. And then when I die, that right stays put for 50 years. So another thing I encourage artists, don't think you're poor because you don't have houses in Mutangari and Mutaiga and Karen. The fact that you have work, it is something, it's an inheritance that you can pass to your children. So if you produce a song today, when you die, put it in your will. Say my copyright to my music will go to my children. They are going to enjoy that copyright for 50 years. So an artist should not feel that because I'm not holding tangible property, I don't have property. Copyright is actually moved to the next generation, and they are paid just like you would have been paid for 50 plus years. Now, for us who do covers and hymns and things that were made by other people, we need to ask ourselves, when I go to the studio and decide to do Nasinzia Nikikuwaza in English, how is this song protected? When I go and do Malaika in the studio, yes, Fadili Williams died, but have 50 years lapsed after his death? If they haven't, they still copyright. So if I go and just to the studio and decide to record Malaika in my language, if the family of Fadili Williams and whoever got the copyright have not given me permission, I'm actually violating copyright and they can take me to court. Another thing is copyright attaches in all the forms of the tangible form. So copyright attaches in a story, a copyright attaches in a tune, a copyright attaches in an idea, so long as it is original. For example, love song, all of us can sing 10 different love songs. So the idea of love is not novel. However, if my love song says specifically, excuse me, miss, what's your name? And then somebody else decides to take that arrangement or that idea and turn it into even change the tune, sing the same words, they're still violating my copyright. The exact way that I'm thinking is protected. The flow of words is protected. The tune is protected. If somebody takes my song, takes my tune but puts their own words, they're still violating my copyright in the tune. So you also need to be on the lookout. These advertisements where they get somebody else to sing a different song with your tune, have they paid you for using your copyright? That will be all, Corinne. I can take questions from now.
Oh, I can see you're on your phone, so I can read them out loud. Alex wants to know, what are the reliable copyright avenues in Kenya and beyond?
To maybe populate that question. But generally, copyright in Kenya can only be registered with the Copyright Board. There's no other place to register a copyright. And then in terms of the organizations that pay you royalties once you register with them, I'm really not able to comment on that. Corinne, over to you. Corinne?
Gosh, unmute yourself first, Corinne. Asking, if is material that is created by AI copyrighted?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So, AI legislation around the protection of AI has actually been very controversial all around the world, because they say there's some original ideas that go into ordering the computer, then the computer brings out what you want. But only America, I think, has attempted to actually regulate, and their approach is that only human aspects of the product from the AI are copyrightable. All else is not protected. So only the very human aspect.
What does that mean in layman's language?
Oh, okay. In layman language, okay, let me say in layman language, for example, there was that rap song that was AI generated with Drake's voice. So the Drake didn't go to the studio, but it is his voice. It has been AI generated. But the words of this rap came from somebody's mind. So those words are copyrighted. The rest of it is not.
Okay. Then I have a question here. I don't know if it's possible for you to walk us through a roadmap as recording and performing musicians and composers that can make sure that our IP is protected and we can make money from our music and we don't get in trouble like with the law. Uh, I think there was I don't know who's paying who. There's someone who sampled someone's music, and I think he's still paying like 8 million pounds a day or something like that in royalties. So just I don't know if you can walk us through a roadmap. Okay, so I want to record a song in the studio. What are the things that I need to do?
Okay. So if you want to record a song in the studio, let's say there's two, I'll use two scenarios. So one, I'm this 20-year-old, just cleared high school. I have no money, but I have all these ideas. Okay. So as an artist, the first thing is establish which part you're playing in that song. uh, for instance, there's people who go and say, give me the beat, I will just come up with the words. There's people who go to the studio, they are talented, but the studio has to find the studio has to find somebody else to songwrite for them. And then there's people who say, okay, my song needs this and this voice. I'm bringing in another person to do maybe a line or to come up with their own verse. So understand which part of the production of this product. Let's say your song is a product. Understand how much of the product is yours. So if you, for example, you're featuring someone, let it be clear whether you're featuring them as a partner, whether they co-own the product, or you've just written a song and you've just given them a verse to sing for you. And if they've not invested in the song, then the song is yours. So that's also another thing. I don't know whether people followed on the story of Sanaipe and Otile Brown when they were recording that wedding song. What is it called? And for you, it's a body limit. When they did the song, they didn't think it would be successful. So one person just picked the phone and said, "Hey, yeah, just we do a song, sawa to in the studio." Then the song blows out, and there's all this revenue now from YouTube, and it just hits them. By the way, we didn't discuss song ya nani. Is it yours? Is it mine? Is it 50% mine? So be clear about that. Then now, when you do go to the studio, if you're being funded by a studio, they will obviously want to own the copyright, or they will want something from it. Be clear. Do not msikwena. Copyright agreements must be written. Do not msiende kupatiwa tu kupiga story na producer alafu upatiwe tu kakitu usign. Please read every line. If you can, send it to a lawyer, even if you pay them very little money, akuangalilie. Do not sign copyright contracts bila kuona. And many people do that. They're told, so ulisema tukikuorganizia show tukikupatia 50k una shida. Mi sina shida. Mimi nataka tu, I can't afford to record. And producers, if you're talented, they will love someone like you because they will exploit you to the end of your life. Just don't go signing things at your sawa basi sign hapa tuanze kurecord album. So look at those contracts and have a lawyer look out for them. Then once you have recorded, remember again, you don't need to register a copyright for you to enjoy the rights of a copyright. You enjoy them the moment you have recorded. But for the sake of evidence, when you finish recording at the studio, have that music recorded, put it in a disc and go home with it, and have the disc signed or something, and go home with it. Uende tu iweke hata kama decide utafanya nini nayo. That is your evidence that that song was originally yours. Also, if you for those who self-sponsor, they pay for everything in the studio. Most of the time it's very clear that everything is theirs. The problem usually comes when people are funded by studios or other organizations, and then they have signed over their copyright to the other person without knowing what does this person own and what they don't own. Then now you've recorded, put your work out there. Like any other, you see like when you go by the roadside, ukikuta watu wanatengeneza furniture, you can come to factory yake iko huko ndani, you'll never know their furniture is nice. That's why carpenters classically put their art next to the road, so that ukidrive tu hivi unaona hey, those are nice beds. Ooh, those are nice seats. The same thing, if you want your work to be good, put it out there. Put it out there so that people can know who you are, they can listen to your work. In fact, it has been scientifically researched that the human mind likes what is familiar. So if I have been accidentally listening to some, nikipita hivi nasikia song ina play kwa mat, nikipita tena nasikia kwa political rally, nikipita hivi even the people that want to come for advertising, they will find that more catchy because it's more familiar in people's minds. So put it out there. Don't be the poet that writes poems and puts them in your house. Do not be the person who writes drama and then just sits. Today, we have been empowered more than any other generation. Today, if I sit down and I think I'm a journalist, I don't need to wait for my family to take me to journalism school. I don't need for KBC to tell me come for a test ride. I simply need a smartphone and some internet. So don't sit on your talents. Never sit on your talents. It's probably not legal advice, but it is life advice. Never sit on your talent. Even if you think it needs sharpening, put your work out there. Now, once you put your work out there, do the actual footwork. Get to know, how do I make a skiza tune out of my song? How do I make money from skiza? Never sit down and imagine watu wa skiza watasema hiyo song yangu ni poa watanitafuta. Be proactive. How else can I use this song? Is it enough for my song to play in a club? No, I want it to play in a mall. Take it to the mall. I want my song to be played in an advert. I want my song to be played in a movie. Go find those people who write movies. Get to know whether your song is in line with their themes. I mean, don't sit down. Then whenever your song is used, make sure you have some contracts of sorts. And contracts do not need to be contracts do not need to be at serious things. A contract can also be on phone. Corinne can say that, for example, this presentation, what I'm doing right now, I'm telling you things that are in the world, but this presentation itself is copyrighted just by the fact that I have sat here, I have used my original words, I have used my original expressions to express ideas that are already in the world. There's already copyright. So if, for example, Corinne wants to place this video or this record, this audio on radio, if she will not have my permission, she'll have violated my copyright. So you as an artist, you need to be aware of where your copyright is being violated or used, and that awareness only you can be wewe tu ndio unajua. So sometimes as an artist, if you're trying to break into the market, sometimes you're like, hata wacha wa violate ndio nijulikane, wacha ichezwe in every club, wacha ichezwe in every car. And that's sometimes a good thing. Sometimes you let your copyright be violated for the sake of breaking into the market. It does not mean it's not violated, it's just that you have allowed it. So you as an artist, be on the lookout. You saw how Sauti Sol was on the lookout when ODM decided to use their song during the last campaigns, and they went to court and they were suing them for millions. Just because my song plays in a club does not mean it can play in a rally. Have you paid me? Have you asked for my permission? So be on the lookout and look for opportunities for yourself, and then always go for a contract. So sometimes I'm calling you, can you perform at my wedding? That song of yours, which one? That Ndakunyanza, come and sing that song at my wedding. Even on text, say, all right, will that recording be played elsewhere? Or you say, I am coming to perform at your wedding, but my performance is limited to the wedding. If you have to caution your guests not to record me, not to post my recording on WhatsApp status, because that's violation of my copyright. So you can capture that even in a text. All right, I'll come to perform at your wedding. However, during the performance, it is not allowed for your guests to share videos. So that is a contract. So akisema sawa, that's a contract. 1 year later, ukiona kamtu kalikuja hiyo wedding kamepost hiyo clip on YouTube, you can go collect your money. So you have to be vigilant, and part of the vigilance is to ensure that you're constantly protecting your copyright. Where can it be used? Remember, copyright goes to use. What is protected is use. So constantly ask yourself, where are they using my work? What is the contract there? Have I given them permission? What is the limit of my permission? Nimewambia watatumia wapi hadi wapi? and then na wakitumia nikiwaambia sawa basi nitaimba, lakini kama hiyo song kama mtaweka kwa wedding show hiyo kuimba yangu, itabidi mnilipe extra. So I would say that's the best way for an artist to protect themselves. Over to you, Corinne.
Thank you so much, Sian. What's the process of registering a copyright? I know that I mean, the copyright appears as soon as the work is done and put out. But what's the process of actually now registering it? You know, for cases like that, when you have to prove that this is copyrighted to you.
Okay, so the process of registering a copyright is not complicated. The only thing you need is your original identification documents and the original work in any tangible form that it is. So, so when you go to the copyright board, they'll give you forms. So in those forms, you're going now to fill the detail. It's a song. This is the name of the song, and then you'll have to give them evidence of that song, of what it is. So whatever it is, whether if it's your poem, whether it's been performed, whether it's been written, you would have to attach the poem. And if it's been performed, you'd have to attach the the form of recording of what it is. Corinne.
Okay, so is there a place that there's actually a colleague sitting here with me who has asked this question? Is there a place that does the civic education of the masses? Because if you're going to enforce this, then people have to know. And sometimes people, I think, make the error without knowing because we just don't know. And it sounds like it is complicated stuff. So even me, who has gone to university, I feel like, hey, I need help. And so I'm thinking about the general masses. So is there somewhere where they can, get this education?
Well, okay. One of the mandates of the Kenya Copyright Board is sensitization of the masses. However, that has been quite difficult, and especially in non-professional fora. So I would say that the best way to find this information is to go to the KECOBO website. That's the Kenya Copyright Board website. And then the rest is now what we are doing here, like the Lord's work. The government does not really have a structure on sensitization. And I would guess it's because everything else, every other industry has all these things that the public constantly needs to know about. And I guess it's just not sustainable for the government. So there'll be something that these people need to know something in health, they need to know something in road traffic rules, they need to know. So there's really no constant civic engagement except what we are doing here. Corinne.
All right, thanks, Sian. I have a question here from Milham, but I'm not very sure, Milham, what you're asking. If you can just rephrase your question, I think it has to do with the percentage splits or general splits, or I don't know if you are making an answer to a comment. So just let us know in the comments and we'll get to it. But I'd like to ask actually a personal question now. So I have a lot of songs in my head that I know are going to be written down and done. And I want to use, because these are praise and worship songs for children. So how this has come about is in our church, we normally use playback tracks. And most of these playback tracks, it's music from out there. And I know that we have music from in here as well, gospel music that we can write. I can write lots of music. And I want to actually use kids, yeah, like people's children, and maybe mine too, to record, the dance moves and the dancing. I mean, I think you've seen the children's choir from Uganda does this, and the ones in the US also do this. So what are the considerations I need to make, and what are the kind of things that I need to do to just make sure that, I'm also protected, putting these kids online, on YouTube and things like those, making sure that someone doesn't come to me and say, hey, no, you need to pay me for those video recordings that we did. So what are the kind of considerations that I need to make, and some of the strategies that I know I need to talk to a lawyer, I know, and I will, but if you can just share in case somebody else is also, experiencing or thinking about the same, what are the kind of considerations I should make when I'm going to be having children in my videos? What kind of deals should I do with the parents? What are the steps I should take to make sure that everything's protected?
Okay, so I think the first thing is when you record them, you need to recognize that if there's no express something from them expressly saying that they don't own the copyright, they can always come for the elements of the song that they contributed to. Like that was my voice. So I would say that before you record, let the parents sign a consent form, and the consent form that I consent to my child participating in this music project, and I'm aware that my child does not own the copyright to the music, and the owner will have full rights of copyright. Because also in such things you don't want to put you don't want to alarm people and make them say, hey, hiyo contract imesema nime transfer rights of money. So don't put such things. Just say that as the child participates, they recognize that they do not own the rights, and fulani fulani Corinne or whichever company owns full rights, full copyright over the music or the video or the production. That's why at the beginning of a movie, when the words go up, you always see a company written, um, copyright, and you know who owns it, the right who owns the copyright, so that it's always known. Ujue tu ukiredo music movie in your country, you're violating the copyright of Sony. So that's the best way.
Oh, yeah, it's actually interesting because some of my some of my live streams in I did a live stream with Nikita, and Nikita was explaining to us her songwriting process from beginning to end. And Nikita, went on YouTube and shared a clip of one of her songs and said, "Over here, I was thinking about da 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 da." And then when I released this live stream recording on Facebook, I was told, and on YouTube as well, I was told part of your video has been muted because you're using music, with someone's copyright. So even Nikita herself playing her own songs and singing them, yes. And also, I think the last live stream that I did with somebody who was creating Nikita's music videos was showing us the whole process, and the same thing happened. And yeah, so I can see how that is going to help. Great. So Milham has not gotten back to us there. Okay, so I think Sian, where, because like I know I need legal help. Are you able to just explain to us, how what kind of money we should be expecting to put aside for the legal part? Because the best thing to do is really to seek a professional in these things, because when you start reading legal jargon, you get even more confused. So of course we always need
Yeah.
someone to help us who is an expert. So please explain to us, the kind of fees that we would expect to pay to get help with trademarking things, copywriting our things, creating contracts. If you can just share with us, and also you share with us if you offer those services and how we can reach you if we want to work with you.
Okay. First, I cannot come up with a flat figure because contract work, it's like copyright and trademarks, intellectual property work. It is billed even by the lawyer depending with the complexity. So, for instance, if you're, for example, having one child over to the studio to produce with you, you see, I'll only prepare only one small agreement for one child. But if your work includes 50 children, you see the workload is different. So it's usually based upon the work. So where lawyers come in basically is they come in at the point of registering your copyright if you need help with that. I mean, there's, I think the money that you pay to the Kenya Copyright Board is a small fee, but what your lawyer charges you also depends with what is being copyrighted. So all these things are dependent on the complexity and workload. But I would say for very simple contracts, lawyers will charge you even as little as 10K. And for now, the more complicated contracts where you're getting into a contract with this studio and that advertisement company, it can, I mean, it's indefinite. It can be as big as the work itself. Sometimes copyrighted work is being used by an international movie, it's being used in James Bond, and that agreement will definitely be more complicated than hii hapa tu ya kwenda kuimba kwa kashow hapo Christmas Eve. So lawyers will, there's really no fixed rate. It depends on the complexity. But even for as little as 10K, you can get your contracts well drafted and well reviewed. That's what I would say. So I would place maybe the minimum maybe at 10K.
Okay, thank you. No, you've said you've said as little as 10K, and I've like winced. Yeah, but actually, if you think about the value of what is being offered, 10K is actually very little. Milham has just clarified there and said that he just wanted some advice on some of the general percentage splits between producers and the artists, that you know you can talk about a little bit there. I think I had also posted a question there. What are the important things to consider when going to record in the studio? And I think this is one of those things that we'll consider. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about that.
So well, there's really, I mean, the numbers are everywhere. There's those that do 50-50. There's even 90-10. There's even 100 to the producer and a salary to the artist. So there's really no, I can't come up with a figure because things are very different everywhere. It's just about bargaining power. It's just like ni kama dating vile watu wanaambianaga sasa, okay, if you come to my house I'll make you dinner. It's negotiations. It's everybody is pulling on their side. The more ignorant an artist is, the less they get. The more vigilant a producer is, the more they get. So it's really a matter of contracting and a matter of being vigilant and a matter of knowing what is the value of my voice. I am Whitney Houston. I am 19. I'm about to blow out into the world. Nobody knows me, but this voice of mine is pure gold. If you don't give me 70, I'm walking out to the next studio. So it's really how you value your work. I can't place a number because, as I have said, they can be as friendly and as brutal as the parties are willing to negotiate. Corinne, what is the other thing you asked? So for people, what was the other thing you asked? Please clarify.
Just the
Corinne.
important things the important things to consider when going to record in the studio.
Yeah, so the important things to consider is like I said in the beginning, how much, whether what you're recording is protected by copyright, whether that you going to the studio is a violation of copyright. And I gave an example of people like us who do covers. So you need to be very careful with covers. If the copyright has not expired, and we said copyright is the life of that person plus 50 years, if the copyright has not expired, you'll be in trouble. And then if it is your original work, uh, I mean, just know if whether you're owning all of it and whether you're owning part of it. So always have something written, even if it's, I mean, especially when you're including other artists, have something written. Let it be clear. But classically, if I go to a studio and I pay the producer to produce for me a tune, I own all of my work because I've paid for it. But if the producer invests in my work, then they get a stake. So if there's a stake, record it in a contract. That's what I would say.
So you just said that if I pay the producer to produce my work, then I own all the rights.
Yes.
But would the producer still need to sign something that says that the rights are all mine?
It is best practice for you to always
Okay.
have a contract.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if it's
All
very
right.
small, even if you have captured it. Yeah.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I think Milham has said that you've answered his question. So thank you very much for that. Yes, there's one more question here from Emma who wants to know.
Oh, like,
Speak up. Shout out.
I'm asking for the like traditional music in Kenya. Like we have like very old songs. In cases where like people want to use them that are not, let's say, Kenyans, of course. So like an international movie or brand, Marvel wants to use a Kenyan song, a traditional Kenyan song. Whom do they find for songs that we don't know who own them, but they're Kenyan? Does that make sense?
All right. That's a wonderful question. It touches on a specific sort of right that I have not mentioned at the beginning of definition, and it's called traditional knowledge. So some things are usually out of copyright and they cannot be traced to a specific author. However, when work is just roaming in the universe, it's a singing game. All of us sing. We don't know which community it came from. Usually, that one is almost open to use. However, when you can trace the roots to a specific community, like the Maasai or the Kamba, and you can trace the roots, then it's no longer protected under copyright. It's protected under traditional knowledge, and you will need to. So for that one, it's quite tricky because traditional systems are not as clear as, it's not a company, it's not a registered chiefdom. So for example, you want to use a Kelume dance from Kitui, you just have to know which you have to go to the ground and know the groupings that own those things. So sometimes they say this song came from this clan or it comes from this group. This group are the traditional musicians of the community, and then you so establish who it's attributed to, and then get a form of consent. So even if you'll have to get from a county or from the Gikuyu dance group of Moranga, just have something that says we agreed to the use, or if they don't agree to the use, then it's what if it's a song they use constantly, maybe in certain dances, certain times of the year, just find leaders of these groups to even just agree to their music being used for such and such an amount, or to not own the copyright over that music, or to just give consent. So that one, the traditional knowledge, as I said, is tricky because the who owns is not clear, but as much as possible, try to get consent.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Sian. Please, can you let us know how we can get in touch with you if we want to, get services from you?
All right. Okay. I'm a teacher and a practitioner in the area of intellectual property. So I would also be able to advise on contracts, on processes and procedures. I also train groups, so you can call me to train any of your groups on any of these concepts. Our firm is called Sian and Mutua Advocates, and we have a training arm of the firm that is called Sairo Law Global. You can find Sairo Law Global on YouTube. We've done a 15-part series on intellectual property, actually. So if you need to check difference between a copyright, a trademark, you can check our clips on YouTube. It's called Sairo Law Global. You can also reach me through Sian at smlawafrica.com. That is Sian at smlawafrica.com, or you can reach me on my number, which is 0725 768898. That is 0725 7698 8898. 0725 Thank you, Corinne.
All right, thank you so much. If you do need the contact details, do reach out to me as well. This recording will be available. It will remain available for the next 48 hours. So if you know somebody who you'd like to share with, who can benefit from the amazing things that Sian has taught today, please do share with them. Let them know that it will be available for the next 48 hours. And yeah, if you have any questions, just post them in the comments. I will pass them on to Sian and then, give you her responses. So thank you very much, Sian. Please do show her some love. Even as we wind up, we are very, very grateful for you joining us today in the studio, and sharing with us all this amazing information and amazing knowledge. Thank you so much, Sian. I don't know if you have anything more to say, to any questions, any comments. You can go ahead. This is your chance before we clock off.
No, I was just going to say that it's been an honor. I
Okay.
All right,
Sorry,
Corinne, I was just going to say that it's been
Sorry,
an
Sian.
honor coming today, and
Yeah.
this civic education is at the. I mean, it's something I'm extremely passionate about. I hope that the information was broken down in a way that I'm able to understand. And yeah, I hope to see you all again.
All right, thanks.
Sorry.
I definitely plan on having you back. Yeah, so I hope that um, more people will come as well next time. Yeah, but I think Milham there says that this was a wonderful presentation. I completely agree with him. My colleague here also says it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Till the next time, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We'll see you in the next one.